The Ukrainian war has gone in stages, and now Russia is dug in defensively. They're not having generals run up to the line so snipers can take them out. They're not exposing themselves to aerial bombardment. They are dug in a defensive posture, and that has made all the difference.
And clearly not nearly enough to persuade policymakers up on Capitol Hill that it's worth carrying on funding them. Now, the Europeans are actually now matching the Americans when it comes to military spending on Ukraine, but they wouldn't be able to pick up all of the slack.
Welcome to a special edition of the Nick and CJ Show. I'm one of your hosts. I'm CJ. What's up, Nick?
What's popping, my friends, my family? It's great to be back.
Yes.
It's great to be back, my brother CJ. It's been a while since we've been on the Nick and CJ Show. The NATO left has a lot of explaining to do. They got a lot of explaining to do because what they are having a hard time saying is admitting that Putin accomplished all of his geopolitical goals in Ukraine. Putin defeated NATO in the West. And European politicians are feeling the political consequences of this. All the NATO politicians being forced out of office. You have Emmanuel Macron loses majority. You have quote-unquote far-right leaders. I say quote-unquote, I'm not saying they're not, but when liberals say it, I'm like, you guys on the same? So, based on what they say, quote-unquote far-right leaders.
Yeah, you have to make the distinction. You got to make the distinction. Like, yeah, that's what they're saying. Yeah, so got it.
They said that at the beginning of the Ukraine war, this will be the end of Vladimir Putin. Since then, how many prime ministers have the UK been through? You had remember the young female prime minister of Finland, and then she was forced to resign as well. You have
remember how they built up the counteroffensive? How this before it happened? It was going to do all this stuff, and they're going to this. How was Putin's army 50% depleted? But you're now talking about this is unwinnable. But to your point, like that you always make. They're always talking out of the both sides of their mouths at the same time. You get what I'm saying? Like they're saying, yeah, we have to this is unwinnable. We need to go ahead and change our goals. And then with the changing of the goals, you say the last question she asked, but is people going to see this as a win for Putin? Yep. It's such a comical movie, like Hollywood style analysis of what's happening. But go ahead.
The question, the answer to that question is 100%. This is 100% a win for Putin. He defeated NATO. He expanded in his relationship with China and with South America and many countries that was turned off from the West because of this war. This is 100% a geopolitical win for Putin. The same thing that could have happened without 1 million dead Ukrainians.
Right.
So
Nick, you forgot about the oil. You forgot about the profits in oil that he's still making. Which sanctions, Nick?
If you said the same thing that Morning Joe just said on that show, which we did last year, like, what's the point of increasing and expanding the military-industrial complex, waging a war that will lead to hundreds of thousands of dead Ukrainians for a result we already know the results of the upcoming conflict? The only way it does not end in the obvious result of Putin and Russia's victory is if there's World War III. And Putin knew this. Everyone knew this. So the only way they stop Russia from winning that war is if there's a ground invasion by the United States and other NATO troops. But the United States could not do this. So everyone who knew any basic foreign policy knew that Ukraine and NATO was checkmated. They overplayed their hand with NATO expansion, and Putin called their bluff. They didn't think Putin was going to do it. He called their bluff, and he dismantled them on the geopolitical world stage.
What does this do for the empire's credibility with their war propaganda? This is shreds it, because how can you make this literally overnight pivot from Ukraine is the most important thing in the world to now you're on Israel and taking heat for it? Like, your poll numbers were staying stagnant when you was going for Ukraine, and we were all against it. But then you switched to Israel thinking like, oh, this is the war that's going to be the one that changes everything. And it literally literally does the opposite. It's like clowns are running his campaign. But go ahead.
That's why, CJ, I couldn't believe that the NATO left destroyed their entire credibility over this war, which was obvious how it was going to end. Like, this is the hill you guys want to sell out the very little remaining bit of your credibility on. This is the hill you want to die on, the hill of expanding NATO and fighting Russia to the last Ukrainian. This war that obviously going to end badly for your side. The progressives allowed their Putin derangement syndrome to completely take over their common sense and their critical thinking, and they threw the reputation in the trash. Every single last social democrat, progressive, who had any little bit of credibility post-Bernie, trashed after NATO left. Bullshit. Over what?
I mean, I don't understand. Yeah, and I don't understand why Bernie, I'm sorry to cut you off, but Bernie and AOC put their reputations over war, Nick. This is not like an issue that is debatable. You know what I'm saying? It's like you're supposed to be anti-war and you are falling on the sword of your progressivism for war?
Yeah, see, I'm actually
so underwhelming. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm actually a softy at heart. You know what I mean? Where I'm very forgiving of people. I'm willing to work with people on certain disagreements. And this got me in a lot of trouble by a lot of people. How dare Nick want to work with these people? How dare Nick be soft on these people? Because I inherently believe in the goodness of people generally. But what did I tell you guys last year? Anyone who get the Ukraine war wrong, I'm done with. You aiding and you siding with Nazis? You siding with NATO in the military-industrial complex? What the hell is wrong with you? I was saying this the first week when I saw this pattern emerge of the new NATO left coalition. What the hell is wrong with you people? It's and I'm like, there's no
Nazis there, Nick. According to them, if you watch Majority Report, Nick, they're literally going like this. Yeah, somebody said something about Nazis. I don't know where the Nazis are. What Nazis do you see? This is literally what they're doing. They're having to cover their eyes to not see the Nazis. And if it pops up in a headline, they'll say, "Yeah, I've heard that there's a little problem there with Nazis." It's like while we're screaming and tagging them and everything on Twitter, it is absurd. But they've blown their credibility. But go ahead.
How does Sam Cedar? How does Cenk Uygur? How does all these people recover? Remember Nina Turner's show where her and her pet sidekick, imperialist black woman. So I'm rude to her because I don't believe that Nina Turner just picked a random black woman to be her host because her host just so happened to agree with the NATO war. They were having a conversation and pretend they were being anti-establishment and edgy. They were like, man, isn't it fucked up that we spend so much money on Ukraine, but we can't take care of the hood? And then they were like, yeah, we understand why we fund Ukraine. I support funding Ukraine, but yeah, we're going to fund that war too. We get some money. I'm like,
it's such a beautiful illustration, Nick, of the issues with social democracy and social democrats because they have to placate two sides that are opposing. They look like morons, like Jamal Bowman looks like right now on the Israel thing in his district, because I just covered this yesterday. In his district, Nick, he has the district that has the most even Muslim versus Jews, so pro-Israel. So he has to sort of walk the line, and he looks completely like an idiot. I'm funny, the Iron Dome guys. I think that you have a right to exist, guys. I think all of this, but just because he's saying this is a genocide or he's something else, they want to throw him under the bus. Yeah. And it illustrates. That's why I love how you and I, we just sit back and this is what's going to happen. Sit back, let it happen. Yep. Because social democracy cannot achieve what they say they can achieve because they walk both sides of the line. They walk both sides of the line, and we're seeing it here again. But go ahead.
Yeah. So I'll pass to you. I know you probably got something you want to share. But the NATO left has a lot of explaining to do because now we see the establishment pivot away from the Ukraine war. Listen to what they're saying on Morning Joe now, CJ. So now Bernie's going to change his position. Now Bernie's going to be like, yeah, man, we probably should negotiate for war. So my question for Bernie Sanders, Ro Khanna, Sam Cedar, and Emma, who's going to do this flip, fam, why did you wait until you got permission by the establishment to call for peace? So now all of them gonna be like, yeah, this is fucking Ukraine. Yeah, man, why we going to Ukraine, man? We should be wrapping. I said months ago we should have been wrapping this up. So now they're gonna go along with the establishment. So now you guys see how their reputation is forever ruined. Because do you guys think I'm going to let them forget about this? You guys think I'm gonna let Marianne Williamson forget about this and her supporters? Because Marianne Williamson was like, yeah, we gotta fucking help defeat Putin, the unhinged tyrant. Now Marianne Wilson's gonna be like, in a few months, yeah, it makes sense that we negotiate. There's nothing we can do. What happened, Marianne? What made you change your position? Why do Democrats and the NATO left, why do they get their direction on foreign policy based on the Democratic Party? Bernie not calling for a ceasefire, and he won't call for a ceasefire until the Democratic Party wants him to. Now you got progressives like, yeah, I'm for humanitarian policies because now it just happened. It's like, yeah, we oppose the genocide in Yemen. Yeah, because the United States is already scaling back on that. And they wait until the deed is already done. They're like, yeah, I was speaking out against this day one. No, you wasn't. And
Nick, they're so they're unreliable.
Go ahead, CJ. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say they're unreliable allies, and it's being shown, and it's a good thing because it radicalizes people to the right formations and make sure they can identify the wrong formations. Because if you just look in the last 24 months, the roller coaster of things that these progressive social Democrats have been going through, from the rail strike to the relational harm to being proven wrong about forced to vote, to now being for Ukraine and having this sort of democracy and sovereignty, and now flipping it completely for now you're supporting Palestine after you voted to send money to Israel. It's like the schizophrenic, and Nick. It's like these people are schizophrenic and they're very unreliable as allies for us. But go ahead.
Yeah, I want to show this based on what you were saying earlier. You know how they always behind us and they got to get people to go through these storylines. Like Ryan Grimm, the Vanguard, all these progressive people was uplifting John Fetterman, and they painted us as like disruptors, people who wanted to ruin the progressive movement because we speak out against John Fetterman. Because on the campaign trail, it's not like he was hiding it. Literally on the campaign trail, John Fetterman said he will lean in on his relationship with Israel. So now, Ryan Grimm, look what he's saying now. You want a pat on the back, don't you, Ryan? No, you're not. You're not going to get a pat on the back. Because now Ryan Grimm is like, I am wondering what happened to John Fetterman.
What do you mean? He was in this.
Hey, so
Nikki, you know what? The Humanist Report, just to insert this one couple of sentences, the Humanist Report, the guy who was pushing him, he's the one doing the most content against him. Just go look it up. He's done like 6 or 7 segments on John Fetterman. Maybe because his guilt. Maybe he's showing his guilt.
Does he ever apologize to his audience?
No.
Has the Vanguard ever apologized to their audience for pushing this guy? You know, the guy who
he just says. Go ahead.
If you have a guy who's willing to pull a shotgun on a black jogger, there's a good chance he will support genocide as a sin. I don't know. That is my intuition, and it seems like I was right, correct? I'm not saying it's a surefire bet, but I would say there's like a 90% chance that a motherfucker that pulls a shotgun on a black jogger is a Zionist. It's a very overlapping thing here.
And he drapes himself in the flag, Nick. He's not even like a little bit. He drapes himself. He flipped. I don't know. He did something or called the police or security on Palestine protesters, on Palestine, pro-Palestine constituents that he said, I voted for him. Remember that video? Yeah, remember those videos? Like, it's terrible, this guy. But go ahead.
Yeah, this is actually not a segment. I was just backing up something you said. It's almost like a mini segment here. Yeah, but you guys see, this is what we covered before. And we got people hate us for this. Like, I am despised by the Bernie left. Generally, I'm blocked by all the big accounts, right? Because one of the reasons why, because we were calling out not only John Fetterman, but I made a point of calling out people who support him. That's why the Vanguard hates us, because we like, nigga, I don't give a fuck. We was cool before. What the fuck is this shit? Were you backing the Zionists? People, and there are a lot of people who get caught off guard. They're like, because we have friendly relationships with RBN before, we're gonna allow them to do some sellout shit.
Nah.
No, just because we have friendly relationships Just because I met you at a Medica Fraud Mart don't mean I'm gonna allow you to get away with some sellout shit. Why are you not telling your audience this? Because it's not just that the fact that they supported John Fetterman, they didn't paint an accurate picture of him at any point.
Right.
At any point. So it wasn't like, well, we support John Fetterman, but we're gonna give you the pros and cons and allow you to make a decision for yourself. That's the same thing the Vanguard and many progressives are doing did with Marianne Williamson. They didn't show you the bad part. They didn't share how she treated her workers. They didn't share her takes on the Ukraine war. They didn't share her takes about how Israel has the right to defend itself. You know the phrase that everyone knows bad now?
Yes.
She used to say that shit all the time. And then I called her out for that, and people were like, Nick is so mean. Yes, you say Israel had the right to defend itself, but what's up with you and your purity test? Now people are like, oh my God, if you say that, you must be supportive of genocide. You guys notice how they always a year or two behind RBN?
This is why this is one of the things, one of the sort of in unintended consequences of this happening is that this is why I said, Nick, we're living in such a time that's historic, Nick. We go from a pandemic to a genocide just like that, to second genocide, by the way. Then we had Yemen, then we had strike breaking. Like, it's so many like events that is proving their strategy as terrible, proving their takes as terrible. And this is another one with Palestine. Because remember, what's wrong? Palestine, what, are you a single issue voter? It was like, this is not a single issue. Are you this? Are you that? Like, no, this is really important. Okay, whatever. And now they're seeing dead babies. Yes. And they're having to backtrack. So go ahead, Nick.
Remember they accused us of purity test, fam?
Yes.
That's the language the Vanguard said. Who calls himself the Vanguard and accuse people of purity test? What kind of shit is that? So Israel Palestine was a purity test that was weaponized to attack RBN. Oh my God, RBN, we used the Israel-Palestine issue to cancel progressives. We are against the progressive movement, and they used the Israel-Palestine issues to do that. Those same people are now pretending that they've been down with this issue since day one.
It's disgusting.
Because now look at this. Even though John Fetterman was saying this on the campaign trail, do you guys see the date on this? April 11th, 2022. And you want to know who's the only person who was tweeting about this? Me in our RBN accounts. I swear to God, I'm the only person who tweeted shit out.
You put me onto it. I didn't know it until I heard from you in the stream. It was like, you see this John Fetterman right here? I was like, what the I remember the stream. I was like, what the fuck? And people were supporting him. But go ahead.
Yeah, so for people only listening, the receipt here that I've been sharing, I shared this in the Vanguard Twitter account. I shared this under Cal Kalinske, under the Breaking Points. Like, all the people pushing down, like, bro, I know you guys see my receipt, so it's not like they haven't seen it, right? Well, John Fetterman says he'll lean in on U.S.-Israel relationship as a senator. And now you have Ryan Grimm. So that was April 2022. Now this is November 2023, a year and a half later. He just now wondering what happened to John Fetterman a year and a half. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to hijack this. I've had to build that because
this is clown shit, man.
Before. And now Ryan Grimm, once again, he won a pat on the back for this because I guess it's generally good that he's now holding John Fetterman accountable. But you get no pat on the back from me, fam, because you've been dragging people on the storyline for a year and a half now. Well, Ryan Grimm, let me read the tweet now. I'm hyping up a little bit too much now. I'm wondering what happened to John Fetterman. He let the pro-Israel lobby edit his Israel-Palestine position in exchange for not nuking him with the super PAC. So, I don't want to be too long on this, but pretty much John Fetterman adjusted his stance. And I'm going to read his news statement where he said, I want to go out of my way to make sure that it is absolutely clear that the views I hold in no way go along the lines of some of the more fringe or extreme wings of our party. I would also respectively say that I am not really a progressive in that sense. Fetterman, unprompted, stressed that there should be zero conditions on military aid to Israel. By the way, an extremist position. That BDS was wrong. So he wants us to condemn Hamas, but he also condemned nonviolent protests. You guys understand this is as extreme as it gets? This is the guy that Ryan Graham and progressives propped up. And now they're like, oh my God, what is going on with John Fetterman? You guys see how they think? People think they're doing good work, but they dragging people along a bullshit storyline. And then the people who they misled over the last year and a half, they gonna be like, God, thank God for Ryan Graham for exposing the truth. Nigga, we've been exposing it. And we've been smeared for it. You guys see how they get credibility out of being wrong. Because now it's like, man, thank God we got Ryan Graham out there calling out John Fetterman. A year and a half late. But sorry, I'll pass you. I'll pass back to you. No, because I have another segment. I got a pretty decent presentation about Israeli war crimes, but I'll pass to you first.
That can be next. But let's just finish up the Ukraine just analysis. I'm gonna put this up on the screen here. Because if you look at the map there, let me switch my so I can see. So they're showing, I think, I can't read the lettering because it's kind of blurred, but I believe they're saying the stuff in the red is what's now taken by Russia. I believe that's what they're saying. The stuff that's in the red, what's Russia control. Yeah, that's what it says. But I do want you to comment specifically, just to hear what your reaction is to specifically with this guy in the beginning. And Richard Haas, this guy is a staple on this show. Absolutely. If there's an important event that I have such a deep feeling that this is an intelligence guy, because he is asked to be the thought leader on the most pivotal issues. And you see how they lean on him for him. Here, he's the one they're leaning on to deliver the news that Ukraine is unwinnable. I just get the strange feeling, strong feeling that this guy's intelligence. But listen to what he says, and I just want to know what you think of what he said in here.
The Pentagon would think it's the unrealistic goal of Ukraine driving every last Russian out of their country.
Now, before he answers, let's give the right framing, like we always do with these Morning Joe segments. Understand who the show Morning Joe is geared to. Who are they speaking to? Donors, the most important, influential people, politicians. This is why this guy is, that's why I say, because of the gravity of the Morning Joe show, for this person to be to take the center stage on these pivotal points, that's why I believe he has to be intelligence.
I'm sure he's CIA or something.
Something like along that. I'm not saying I don't know what it is. I'm just saying there's something fishy about that. So understand the framing and how Morning Joe is saying, listen, they've done some great things, donors. But listen, it's time for you guys to understand what we need to do now. And he's here to deliver the news.
I think the right question.
Is this the result of weapons running out, Nick? What do you take from what he's saying? What do you take? I don't want to add more to the question. Yeah.
Once again, if you want to know what's going to happen, if you want to get analysis on world events, you subscribe to RBN. Because didn't I tell you this was going to happen? The counteroffensive was pressured by the West, fam. Ukraine had no plans to do a counteroffensive. Then months before, they're like, there's going to be a big Ukrainian counteroffensive. Ukraine like, huh? There's going to be... We said there's going to be a counteroffensive. Oh, damn, I guess we got to do a counteroffensive.
That was literally their reaction, Nick. That was literally Zelensky was sitting at the podium. He was like, what? My script has said this. He said that we have a counteroffensive coming up. That's hilarious. Go ahead.
It was very clear, and there's a reason why there were new Ukraine packages every week, and we spent so much money, because it was very clear that the West was sending Ukraine a message. You guys got to deliver on this counteroffensive. If you guys don't, this shit is over. We got other wars to attend to. You're not our only honey. You're not our only chick here that we messing with here. So Ukraine failed in their counteroffensive, and now the West like, all right, Raytheon, our weapons industry, made record profits. We use this war as a way to get Sweden and Finland into NATO. So good job. Let's pack it up. Let's go home. Now the Ukrainians who made a mistake that I hope that people in Taiwan won't make, and I think they won't based on current trends. The fact that they're they're rejecting the hardcore separatist push that coming from the ruling class party in recent elections and recent polling. But hopefully the Taiwanese people learn that the West don't care about Ukraine. They don't care about these struggles. They are using you as a pawn. So now we have million-day Ukrainians. All right, time to pack up. That was a good little haul for us. That was good. So we knew this was going to happen. And now think about what he's saying in the beginning of this speech, and now I'll pass it back to you, CJ. He was saying, man, we got to keep our eye on Taiwan. You got the Israel thing going on. And they just say this stuff as if they're not absolutely psychotic. So let me translate what he said in the beginning. He said in the beginning, he's saying, we're fighting so many wars. We're engaged in so many conflicts. We got to cut one out. We're stretched too thin. CJ, you guys see how easy he's just saying this? He's like, we got to worry about Taiwan. There's no Israel thing going on over here. We got to keep our eye on Iran. They just casually talk about wars. You know, the same way we talk about sports and shit.
Yeah.
But does that show the psychotic mind of the neocon? And they want us to think that Putin has geopolitical conquest on his mind? Remember what they said? They said, if we give Putin anything, that will give him the green light to invade Europe. What happened to that mindset, sir? I thought that if we gave Putin anything, that will give him the green light to invade Europe. No, that's actually the West. The West projects everything. But I'll spare you guys. Let's continue. I'll pass it back to you.
But just to add to some of that point, this is more hypothetical. You can answer if you want, but it's not literally to you. But is this an admission of, wow, because they haven't been getting funding, weapons are pretty much done. The ceasefire part, because they're trying to present it. They can never say, damn, we ran out of weapons out of there. They'll look like clowns, the clowns they are. So they have to present it as, we should go ahead and do a ceasefire. And then the second point, before you answer, Nick, I want you to think about this part. Joe Biden just asking for $60 billion, Nick. How do you square that with what he's saying here, that we need to, this is unwinnable? You get what I'm saying on Morning Joe? But go ahead, whatever you're going to say.
People have no idea how the ruling class and the media elite, they have zero shame. Like, they were advocating for the exact opposite. If you said what they just said last year, they will call you a Putin apologist. They will call you a traitor to the United States if you say the exact same thing they say here. But they just take orders and they learn how to message from the Pentagon, from the Democratic Party perspective. They don't care if they was wrong before. They will just change your persona the same way a pro wrestler changes their persona. Doesn't matter what they said before. They can say the complete opposite a year before. Joe Scarborough to come on the next show and say, I told you guys that this Ukraine war wasn't going to end well. They do this all the time. Tucker Carlson was famous for doing this, for example. They will just whitewash shit they said. Like, no, you was blatantly wrong. And you see, that's what they're doing with this segment, to answer your question. They're now doing this thing like, personally, I would advocate a ceasefire. Me personally, I would pull the Ukrainians aside and say that it's war unwinnable. Nigga, that's not your position. You guys see how they're pretending that it is? So now 5 to 10 years later, when they talk about the Ukraine war, they're going to be like, yeah, I was there in the beginning telling them that the Biden support, it was bad. This is how these shameless ghouls rehabilitate their image. Do not think they have the same principles as we do. This is something that is so shameless we wouldn't do it, but they would do it on a drop of a dime. You know what I mean? To change their persona, change stuff what they said in order to uphold their public image. But go ahead, CJ. I'll pass it back to you.
Yeah, I just wanted you to react to that, but then we can kind of bring this segment to a close and then get to your your first segment. But just think about it. I was just watching another newscast. I can't remember if it was a case study clip, but they've killed a generation of men over there, Nick. What are they going to do? What are those women going to do over there? What are those families? What are those kids going to do, man? Like, it is terrible. And when the United States is like, we're done. Let's get out of here. On to the next one. Like, no care. And then they wonder why they're hated all over the place, why they have to be have such a huge military, because you fucking people's lives up. And then you're just taking off